All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Um, so my name is Sukhjit Singh, and I also go by Bob Singh. And I'm here to basically give you a little introduction about the Project Management Practitioner program that sits in CIS department, but it's not, it's kind of subject agnostic. It applies to many different disciplines. I mean, there are about 18 different disciplines that project management is used in: aerospace, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, all kinds of stuff. I left my cell number there in case you guys need it, or any questions or follow-up questions that may come up. So why consider project management? So the first thing to consider project management is, if you are in a workplace and you want the ability to getting things done no matter what, whatever challenges that come across your way, whatever personas you deal with, whatever internal emotions you deal with, whatever roadblocks, let's just encapsulate all of that in one word: roadblocks that you may come across, whether internal or external. The first course in project management shows you how to deal with that. But if you go through our first course in the program, that pretty much is a test that probably, in my eyes, would say that you're built to be a project manager, because project manager is a role that you take on where you're smiling at the end of 10 hours, you worked all 10 hours, lunch at the desk, and you're empathizing with other people, not worrying about yourself. Project management is a certain kind of a role, and it takes that kind of emotional intelligence, just like database administrators, I'm sure you've heard of, right? Or the plumber. Sorry to contrast these, but we call these individuals only in time of need, right? Or a doctor, right? When do you go see a doctor? When you're sick. But what do you expect the doctor to be? Smiling, empathizing, take care of you. That's the role of a project manager. To be an enabler for getting things done, and also creating a work environment where people want to get things done. So creating an inspiring environment. So obviously that then takes you into the other three bullets, where you begin, if you want to be in a leadership role, you're the CEO of the project. Even though, and nobody is reporting to you, but you're responsible for everybody. That's a project manager as well. That's a kind of leadership role you end up taking as a PM. Understanding the structure, people coming to you for guidance on how do we get this done or how do we get that done. So you're the process expert of getting things done. You're a very structured person. But in your communication style, you don't talk about process, but you enable process without people knowing, right? Some very hard things to do. And then obviously being very articulate in your communication, enabling teamwork, being that person in the background that nobody knows, but makes things happen. These are some of the traits, your internal traits that may lead you to making a decision for being a project manager. This is my view of project management. So if you answered yes to some of those questions, right? Or if you answered no to all of those questions, then the thing to try would be to take the first course in whatever field you're in, right? In that first course, you come in, you work with a team of 5 people, 4 to 5 people. You have real world hands-on case studies that you have to perform the work in class. And you have to create the output right there. Okay? Every time, at least the first course I've taught, I don't lecture at all. We just do work in class. So one example would be that one case study is actually from a director of IT trying to expand the team from size 36 to 170 people. You have to help the director of IT find an office building. You have to understand the criteria. You have to then go out and find the office buildings and prepare a presentation in a couple of hours. In the process, you learn how to initiate a project. By the time you have delivered the output, if there are 40 people in the class, there are 8 presentations. So we have cheating opportunities. I shouldn't say that in a college environment, right? But we have cheating opportunities from other teams because we look at the same problem solved by 8 different teams and we learn from each other. Then we go back and improve on our solutions in real time. That's the description of the hands-on approach. I went to some local companies to find examples for case studies I could possibly use in the program. But they all said, "Are you kidding me? Because this is our intellectual property, so we obviously cannot share that with you." So I created my own fiction, eBay Incorporated, eBay -2. That was how creative I could be at the time. eBay is one organization that has a lot of problems. It's a publicly traded company in my fiction. It has a lot of revenue because as long as I'm making up stuff, I can make up good stuff, right? It makes $170 million a year, has 200 employees. But every department has some problem. And you guys become people that end up enrolling in the program, become interns in eBay. And then you're working with these fictitious characters that are like director of IT and VP of engineering and VP of HR and so on. And you're solving problems for these stakeholders. In the process, you're learning project management. So you walk away with process methods. You walk away with templates that you can use at the workplace. And above all, the communication style. Because the role of a project manager requires to be a strategic communicator, and it also requires to be able to communicate at a tactical level, basically at all levels. When you're communicating with someone that has no reports, say engineering in a software engineering organization, and you have to relay and communicate the task list, the things that you're requesting of them to do, right? How do you collaborate with them to make a plan? So let's say all 10 or 15 of us are working on a project. How can I collaborate with each one of you and say, these are tasks that you have to do? How do I figure out the dependencies between tasks? How do I figure out how much time each one of you will take, right? This is all tactical collaboration. Then there is strategic. Strategic is the budget for the project is so many $1 million. It has to be done in a certain amount of time, right? So how do I deal with the funders of the project, with the performers of the project, and get everybody on the same page through a nice common process where everyone feels? That's a carefully chosen word. Everyone feels that I had my input for the plan. That, well, if I assign you a task, I don't even use that terminology, right? The inspiring environment is, I want to do that task. And the inspiring environment is also, this is how long it will take. But then if we need to crash the schedule to do it quicker, you want to put in extra hours yourself, right? All of those things come together in different case studies through the different courses you end up taking, so you understand how to build such inspiring environments. As political as environments get, right? If you're operating in a small team, your own microcosm, you can make that inspiring environment. In a larger organization that may have other ways of functioning. These are all the things that we try and encapsulate. Hopefully I'm being clear about the statement that is represented on the slide. I didn't want to read that because you guys can do that on your own. But the examples hopefully help out. We use PMBOK. This is from Project Management Institute, PMI. PMI is an entity that offers certification to practitioners out there that work as project managers. And there are far too many certifications today in PMI. A lot of our courses have a one-to-one correlation to what PMI offers. When I go through the course. One of the things that I personally believe is operating as a project manager, you have to be able to see things through completion, right? Whether it's personal projects or professional projects. So what does completion mean? I may try 10 things, I might fail on 9 and succeed on 1. The fact that I've seen an activity, a task, a project to failure, right? Because it failed because of reasons that aren't in my control, right? Or maybe are in my control, but I didn't have the skill, I didn't have the capacity. I call that completion. But we don't leave anything in the middle, hanging, right? That's the second bullet. And self-starter refers to being not waiting for anybody and creating that kind of environment so your life is easier. As a self-starter, I don't answer questions because, let's go in pharma. Let's go into a clinical research project. I'm working with very esteemed individuals that are making the next generation of drugs that will be used by you and I for a specific disease. Genentech or Roche, cure for cancer. These are fairly esteemed people, wouldn't you say? Say you have an opportunity to work with these individuals. What kind of emotional intelligence is needed to work with these individuals? These are credible resources that you have to communicate with, that you have to collaborate with. And then and let's say you have domain expertise also, but the style of communication, cultivating an environment so you get what you need, right? So when I'm in those kind of environments, can I answer questions on technical level, even though I may have domain expertise? Are you guys understanding my question, right? Let's say I'm working with 3 PhDs that are working on the next generation of drug for curing cancer. And I'm doing project management for that. Am I in any position to answer questions on what is their domain expertise? Even though I may have, I should leave that alone, right? But I don't answer questions. I only ask questions. The style in which I ask a question pretty much drives success or failure for a project. If my question is asked in a way that is that does not show respect to the individual on the other side, versus where I put myself in a position of being a learner all the time as a project manager, right? Then things flow. That is very important, because asking A+ questions solves problems. You can always ask a D+ question. If you ask an A+ question and you get a B+ answer or a C+ answer, you're doing pretty good. But if your question is a D+ question and you get an A+ answer, you're not getting anywhere. These are things to learn, right? Not just for project management, folks. If you're just going to go work in a team and you have to operate with others, this is a skill of getting it done. So wherever there is work, expertise for project management should exist. I'm not trying to be a sales guy on this, okay? So, at least when I'm talking to software engineers, I'm always saying, guys, you guys are great with computers and programs, but now it's time to get things done. How do you integrate with others? Right? And that takes all kinds of skills that come together in this program. Succeeding in a team environment. And last one is my favorite. Empowering others to work on projects. How do you do that? Empowering others. See, water flows in which direction? That's a question for you. Which direction does the water flow? Down. How do you get things done? If the water flows in the bottom, if I'm in the bottom, everything will flow. What does that mean? That speaks to my emotion, my thought process. I don't know anything. I want to get it done. I'm going to come and ask for help. You're a subject matter expert, I might say. How do we accomplish this? So that just becomes a style of asking questions, and people will say, well, Bob needs help. So we will help Bob, and we will get things done. If I position myself as, well, I know everything. Well, if you know everything, then you do all the work. Thank you very much. It's that simple, right? If the water flows from top to bottom, then why be on the top? You want all the water, right? And being like water means what? Clear, right? Emotion free. That takes a little bit of practice. And that emotional intelligence is cultivated slowly through the program. As you learn PMBOK, the principles of project management, initiating a project, executing a project, controlling a project, closing a project, planning a project. Right? And then you think about what's to be done, what's the budget, what's the schedule, what's the quality, what's the team going to be like. Those standards are nicely documented in PMBOK. These are nicely documented in Project Management Book and Knowledge, which is an IEEE standard. It's now in its 6th edition. And we just use that as our guide through a different set of courses. So this is our program. Can you guys see that font size in the back? Gets a little tiny. So we have 4 core courses. A, B, C, D, 95 series. The first course basically tells you what is project management. It's the hardest course in the sequence. It's a test. Do you want to be a project manager? So you come and spend 3 weekends, Saturday and Sunday. Yes, Sunday. From 8:30 in the morning till 6:20 at night. How many hours is that? I'll let you do the calculation. Right? You do get a few breaks, but you're working most of the time. And if you're engaged in the course, you're enjoying, you're having fun, the day is over, and you're smiling at the end of the day. That tells you, project management material. If you're like, oh my God, when will this day be over? Right? So far, I have not seen, I would say, the program has ran for 11 years, and you're working on outcomes. You're tired at the end of the day, and you're like, do I need to go home and do some homework? No. My recommendation always is, please go home, sleep. Because when you come back in the morning, I need you fresh. And oh, by the way, at 8:30 in the morning, I'm going to give you a quiz. So, when I want to show implementation of controls for success, I build those in the course. So you can see how you create an inspiring environment, a self-driven environment. Even if I put a quiz at 8:30 in the morning, everybody's there. 38 out of 40 people are there. Okay, where is the quiz? Give me the quiz. And I say, okay, 10 minutes, let's wait. No, give me the quiz, I'm here, damn it. I need my quiz. That kind of environment creation is simply learning the techniques. Okay? And it doesn't come from one person from top down. It's collaborative. So I will ask the class, I want you all here at 8:30. How can we do that? Well, bring cookies, bring donuts. Serve me coffee. I will be here at 8:30. I'm not going to do that. I'm a project manager, not the chef they want me to be, right? So you learn to initiate, plan, execute, close, and control. The first course is your best course to try out this experience. I would not decide to enroll in an entire program and go through it unless you have taken 95A and you have your aha moments. And we cover so much material. I guarantee it, you won't remember all the things I cover in the 10 hours. I guarantee that. But what I can guarantee is when you're confronted with a similar situation that you have come across in the course, you will know exactly what to do. Because you will learn how to create a repository of information, templates, processes, and then use that as your dictionary to guide others. You'll have these cards in your back pocket to be a successful practitioner. Okay? Second course gets on project planning and control. How do you create a good plan? So you don't have to replan. Classic examples, Iraq War, 1991. We went to war in 91. We arrived on the ground and the plan changed. And we had thousands of soldiers on the ground, right? When you change the plan in middle of execution, that takes some skill, first of all, to be successful. So I appreciate the generals that changed the plan on the fly and then were successful. So creating a plan that works. Not only that, controlling a plan that works. Control does not mean controlling people. That's the last thing on my mind. What are we controlling? Outcomes. So you learn to control outcomes. And sometimes people perceive that as what? Control on team, which is never the intention of any manager. Because the moment when we start thinking of business outcomes, our perception model changes. When our perception model changes, we can coach our team to be self-driven. If somebody takes something personally, we can say, hey, it's not about you. It's about this outcome we're trying to achieve. So let's go. Are you with me? Are you with us? Right? That creates a propelling environment. And this happens in every course after course. Third course is risk management. So you learn, I think I just finished teaching this course this quarter, about 13 different tools for risk management. What can go wrong, how you come up with, how do you do impact analysis, how do you come up with solutions to mitigate a risk, how do you measure success? Because next time I want a project funded, my stakeholder is going to want to know what problems I ran across, how I solved them, right? Risks are difficulties. And in time of difficulties, what do? We stand, right? We deal with difficulty. How can we deal with difficulty? If we are strong ourselves, right? It's basically one thing that, that basically determines my course of action. It's my willpower. I can have all the knowledge in the world. But what changes thing is my attitude, my behavior. So in case of difficulty, if I am calm, I take in whatever is said as information, right? The worst news that you get, it's information. Thank you, I've heard it. And then being neutral on the idea of emotion, I come up with solutions with my team and solve it. So you deal with some pretty difficult situations in risk assessment and mitigation. And the case study we used here this quarter was creating a software solution for diabetics. In business sense, not technical like writing software, but in business sense. So dealing with government regulations, manufacturers of devices used by diabetics, pharma, insurance providers, patients, clinicians. I guess I already said insurance providers. Well, we look at all these stakeholders and we come up with a system that's a winning solution. And we do risk assessment and mitigation on that with 13 different tools. So you will get exposure to fields that you're not used to, right? So in this case, it was medical devices and software. In others, it's construction. In others, it'll be coming up with a franchising plan for a company that wants to do real estate loans. So we've got a very diverse set of case studies in different courses depending on the content. Outsourcing. This course is about, outsourcing. How do I define outsourcing? How do you define outsourcing? Does Walmart outsource? Right? Do they offshore? So we talk about the difference between outsourcing and offshore. Anything that I don't do myself, I'm outsourcing. If I hire a gardener to take care of my front and backyard, that's an example of outsourcing. I may outsource because I don't have time. I may outsource because I don't have the skill. Somebody will do it better, fast. And I can take my time and invest on something that's my primary business. So that's a personal example, right? But then there is the business example. Like Walmart cannot manufacture everything. Let's say they sell 5,000 products in 4,000 stores in US alone. What's their buying power? Where do they go and get those products manufactured, right? They may go offshore. Offshore and outsource are not the same. Offshore is when you have a body of water between two different countries. So sending something to Canada is not offshore, but sending something to England would be offshore, right? The technical definition of offshore. So we talk about those. And then in outsourcing, you have to hire somebody, right? Just like you get hired as an employee, there's a job post and then you apply in the interview process and then you get selected and background check and all that. We take that hiring process for vendors. We say, well, we want to do this project, right? Here's a job description, RFP, request for proposal. Then we get a response. Then we have a vendor selection criteria. We have 13 people, 13 companies that have applied for this. Which company is the best? There's a committee, people with different expertise. Then we select a primary and a backup. And then we have to learn about contracts. What kind of contract do you have to set up? How do you do procurement? How do you set up procurement to outsource? How do you create a program management office, a fancy word called PMO? Then we bring the vendor on board. We actually do all this work in class. We hire a vendor. Then we manage the vendor. So CBay hires a vendor. Then that vendor, unfortunately, has all the problems you can think of as we are working with them. It's for learning purposes. Everything that can go wrong in a project is simulated in the case study. So if you can handle those, I would say 15 or 20 issues that are carefully choreographed, it's like you're part of a movie, not a Bollywood movie, because there's no singing and dancing in that. But it's a movie, all right, that you're participating in. It's a 16-hour-long movie. Indian movies are only 3 hours, and Hollywood movies are only 2 hours. These movies are 16 hours, but you're playing in it, right? So you get to feel the responses. And then you say, well, this team said this, but I said this. I want to fire this vendor. No, let's not do that. So in the class, you guys are having this conversation. I will deal with this in this way. I will deal with the response in this way, right? And then in one of these classes, I run these thought experiments. I'll give you a situation and I'll say, okay, half of the class, you're only allowed to use these positive emotions to deal with this problem. And the other half of the class, you're only allowed to use negative emotions. So when that thought experiment runs, you guys are siloed, right? You guys are not listening to each other. You're far away. You come up with a solution. The outcome of that experiment is interesting. That how do you take a very negative situation and deal with it more negatively? And then people say, well, minus and minus is a plus. I said, all right, let's feel that, right? So, and then there is minus and plus, which is a minus, right? And the team that is working with negative emotions interacts with the team that interacted with positive emotions. It's just a great learning experience. 2 minuses does make a plus. Depends how you evaluate. Okay? So it goes to that level, right? Now, each unit is 8 hours. Am I right about that? 12 hours, excuse me. 12 hours of class time. So 5-unit class is 60 hours. 4-unit is 48 hours. 3-unit is 36. So people are taking outsourcing right now. In fact, this Saturday and Sunday, I'm running the second weekend of the outsourcing class. In case you guys want to pop in to see how the class runs, you're welcome to join us as a guest. So you can see things in action. Because, what's the best way to see things, right? I mean, I can talk about it all day. But it's better like you pop in for an hour and see what's going on. Right? It's a different kind of pedagogy, a different kind of teaching methodology, where there are no lectures, no exams, just some quizzes, hands-on case studies, very experiential, and you walk away with learning the way you want to learn, which is do things right, and then it's part of your permanent memory. Your short-term memory remembers nothing. In fact, I keep saying, guys, please forget this. Please forget this. And you love that because you don't want to remember anything. But I require you to do good note taking because that becomes your repository. We even collaborate on that. I'll say 5 people in the team each take notes on the same Google site, right? Then you guys can cheat from each other's notes. Oh, you wrote that. That you presented better, because it's hard to keep up with everything, right? But if 5 people share their notes, that's collaboration, right? How do you get everybody on the same page? My answer in the class is create it. How do you create a page? Well, make a Google site, right? Or some web page that's easy to create. Right? So these things become your tools and techniques to run your projects, right? People that want to people that are introverts may love talking to computers. What's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert? Now, this is no kind of a joke, okay? I mean, I'm not going there, right? But people have these traits. Introverts do all the thinking, they know the answers, but don't talk about it. Extroverts need people, they need energy. They get energy by interacting with people. So they come to a meeting, they know the problem, and then they come to the table and they say, okay, let's discuss a solution. And they use that energy to come up with a solution. Now, if introverts are in that meeting, they don't talk, right? So you end up with this gap that's why you have these, miscommunication sometimes among team members, because one may have the solution and they say, well, only if you listen, I'll give you the answer. And the other is, only if you talk that I'll start listening, right? So we learn how to bridge those with the right questions. Saying just enough, so people get inspired and people feel comfortable to talk. And people don't have to talk just in a meeting. They can also talk online. They can take a survey. They can document. They can write an email. There are so many tools, right? These are all the things we enable in these first 4 courses. And then those 4 courses are required. Then you can take one or 2 of the 5 courses. Depending on your interest. This course covers a lot of the tools in the technical realm. This is a exam cram. CAPM and PMP are 2 certifications that are, if you're a newbie project manager, you'll go for CAPM, Certified Associate Project Manager. If you're already working as a project manager for 3 years, you'll probably go for your PMP. So depending on your experience and education level, you may pursue one certification or the other. But each one of these courses, B, C, and D, also leads to a certification. B leads to scheduler, C leads to risk manager, D is for PMP, just knowing parts of outsourcing, right? There's a course on process management. This was actually created to basically understand process steps and getting rid of redundancy, so quality of service improves and the amount of money that is expended in a project is reduced. So take the permit process, say at City of Sunnyvale or any city. If you have to go apply for a permit and they have 12 steps, if you can map that process and say, maybe these 3 steps are redundant, what is the cost of each step? And how many permits are we issuing a month? You see, that kind of optimization helps with project budgets, right? That's what process management covers. Managing cloud projects is actually going to be taught in spring. This is for technology professionals that want to enable infrastructure, learn how to enable infrastructure. And then agile project management is also for software engineering in particular. Any questions on these, on the coursework? Yes.
Are the 95 ABC data, are they sequential, or can you take any?
You can take A, you must take A, then you can take B, C, or D. But the way we run in a cohort format, at least the offerings are that way. So like we had a group of individuals that started the program in fall. They went through A and B. Each course is 3 weekends. So they were in class for 6 weekends. And then they're done with 2 classes. Rest of the quarter we are done. They are short courses. And we take care of all the work in class. Then they came back in winter and going through C and D. Another 6 weekends. And then 1 more course. So you can finish the program in about 6 to 9 months. 6 months if you start in fall, 9 months if you start in spring. Because we got summer in between where we have, I think, only 1 or 2 courses offered. Okay. And I personally teach A through D. This program has existed since 2005. So we've had, I think, a little over 2,800 students that have gone through different courses. About 30 or so people earned their certifications in each cohort, 25 to 30. How is the program perceived in the industry? So I started a LinkedIn group to just kind of, see what the professionals are doing and which companies are our grads in. So we got a lot of the local companies. In fact, I consulted at Cisco and I ran into about 8 individuals in that one building alone that had taken classes with me. I'm like, okay, well, in the class I'm pretty real because I'm very open because of the pedagogy. Now these guys know how I think, and now I have to professionally work with them. So there's always that fun part. I guess we talked about that. And that's our website, cis.dienza.edu/pm. This program was really created. Well, I was in software engineering back in 2001. And my thinking was that a good software engineer doesn't really need a project manager. Because, they can self-manage. That was my working context at the time. Then the company I was at, I left. I started a company of my own, went through some project failures. I was teaching here at Dienza. And we got a grant from National Science Foundation to study the teaching methodology that's actually used in this program. It's called Story-Centered Curriculum. Story-Centered Curriculum. This program, this pedagogy was used by Carnegie Mellon West, based out of Moffittfield. And in the first year, before they opened, we were working on a project with Carnegie Mellon here at Dienza for our enterprise security program, trying to kind of do this hands-on thing that I described to you guys. And at the same time, the master's program in software engineering was using the same teaching methodology at Carnegie Mellon. So in that first year, as I worked here, I was invited by Carnegie Mellon to document the failures I had gone through in my own projects as courses for the software engineering. When I did that, that's a lot of reflection. I should have done that. There was a lot of those could have, should have events or ideas. And that changed my mind about the role of a project manager. So in my dedication to project managers, I ended up creating the first course, 95A. And I said to myself, I'm only going to use the methodology I learned from Carnegie Mellon, Dr. Roger Schenk of Socratic Arts, who's basically I would say, the guru of this methodology. He taught me how to teach in a story format where it feels like you're part of a movie. That's the teaching methodology I'm talking about. So that inspiration of the teaching methodology combined with the newfound respect for project managers became the program here. And it's been in the market for, well, since 2005. So actually I can say 13 years. Well, 12, because 13th is probably by September. If you guys want to see things hands-on, well, here is my cell number. You can keep that handy. You can always find my email address on Dianza's website. I can also, in fact, excuse me. I have a print of all the slides. Grab one, please. I printed this and I forgot. So there, you have my contact info. If you want to come visit the class, send me an email. So, I can accommodate your visit. Okay. Let me know the time you're coming because the class does take lunch and breaks. So I can suggest a time that works for you. The class this weekend is from 9:30 to 3:30. It's 6 hours each day, right? And it's the outsourcing class. That'll give you a pretty good idea. Can I answer any questions that you all may have? Yes.
So are there, besides Cisco, when you talk about the student outcome, do you know any other
Companies?
or any other stories?
Success stories? Student success stories?
Or where usually the students end up?
Oh, we've got folks in Google, Yahoo, Apple. In fact, there are a couple of students currently in class. So they're all working. Did everybody get a copy? They're all working professionals. So, Tesla. I guess I should make a list from the few that I know and put it on our website. Symantec, Genentech, or Roche, Varian Medical Devices.
So it's not necessarily everyone that takes the course becomes like a project manager, but it just sort of use the techniques and then they.
Well, see, if your goal is to be a project manager, you can. But there are two ways to become a project manager. One is to take one course, have the minimum hours that PMI requires for a given certification. PMI is Project Management Institute. That requires 35 hours of class training. Any one course will give you that. Then you can take the exam cram course or take some online exams, practice exams, and then read a book and go appear for your exam, and you have the certification. The other way is to go through our program. The difference between the two is, one, the PMP certification or CAPM or scheduler manager or a risk manager gets your foot in the door because you're certified. Those PMI certifications will help you get the foot in the door and get you a job. Our program will help you keep the job. That's how I precisely, now if you don't want to be a project manager, but you want to still get things done, let's say say just talk about software engineering. You're a software engineer, you have worked in engineering for 2-3 years. You love coding, but now you want to be a team lead. Not a project manager, but a team lead. So you're taking on more responsibility. This program is perfect because then you'll know the structure of organizing the work in a collaborative way and creating an inspiring environment, all the things I said. If you want to be a manager, a functional manager with a team of 20 people, right? How do you measure success? How do you manage people? How do you work with them to create plans and get things done? And you want to be both technical, managerial, and strategic, right? Basically a multidisciplinary. So if you're a business analyst, just doing data analysis, this certification could be for you as well because you have to collaborate with a group of individuals, right? So this is like English of getting things done. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Was this useful? If I can be of any assistance, please do reach out by email. If you guys have any questions one-on-one you want me to address, as people get out of the program, we don't have like outreach for employment. Like we don't help you find a job. But what I do is help you look for a job yourself through networks that are out there, like Venture Loop. So I discuss in class strategies on how to look for a job in ways that others don't. Like having a carpool lane. Sometimes the carpool lane is also overcrowded, right? But the day the carpool lane is like at $9 for the event, I only see 1 or 2 cars. Point I'm trying to make is finding a job in the carpool lane, how to get there fast. So kind of non-traditional methods. I'll review your resume and have you put it in a way that it makes the point for the job. And like one of the successful strategies for looking for a job is, when I join your company, how will your company change? Think about that. So let's say I want to go work for Workday. Workday is a very successful company. They make enterprise resource planning software that sits in the cloud. Whatever that gobbledygook means, doesn't matter, right? So my role is to be a software engineer in that company. I will study that company and then I'll figure out how my skill will change that company. Because I'm not just going to do my work. I'm going to do more. Not only I'm going to sell you on that, as if you're my hiring manager, I'm not going to just sell you on that. I'm also going to do it when I get there. I have to mean it, right? And I'll say that in a cover letter in a precise way. The other thing is, like, when you're looking for jobs, it's all about connections today. You don't go to a job board and say, apply. Or you don't go to Craigslist and post your resume with the hope that somebody will call you one day. They do. Those strategies do work, right? But why not go to a meetup? Say like this one, right? And if there's a networking opportunity, afterwards you can meet people. And maybe there's a hiring manager from Workday there, or a person from Workday, and they can refer you. And because they refer you, why will they refer you? Well, they have to like your skill set. And if you build that trust with them and they refer you, they get $2,000. That's a good reason to refer, won't you think? If an employee is internally referred, is the likelihood of that person getting hired more than coming from, the outside through the website? See, those kinds of strategies. So I try and assist as much as I can for you to successfully look for a role. And again, of course, if I can be of help, thank you for coming tonight. I'll be around if you have any questions. Have a great night, everybody. Hi, how are you?
I kind of missed a couple of things that you said. First thing you said was you sound like software engineering does not require a project manager. Everything will flow until you find out later that that's not the case because of a course that you took